Hey, welcome to the Local Marketing Beat, brought to you by Uberall, the location marketing platform that helps businesses drive real world results. I am Christian Hustle, your host, here to help you stay ahead of the curve in local marketing. And this podcast is your go to for insights, trends, and expert advice on everything from AI driven search to measuring the revenue impact of multi location marketing. Now, today I'm joined by two incredible guests, Krystal Taing, an expert in local SEO and location marketing. Welcome to the show, Krystal.
Hi, Christian. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, it's going to be a blast. I know we've done this a couple of times, so I'm excited about today's topic. And we also have Stephanie Genin, a seasoned CMO with a sharp focus on revenue driven strategies. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thank you, Christian. Thanks for having me on Hello, Krystal.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great one. You both have very cool insights on what we're about to tackle, which is the broken state of location marketing metrics, right? We're going to talk about the impact of AI on search and how marketers can really transform these challenges that they're seeing on a day to day into game changing opportunities, right? Crystal, I was having a conversation with you, and I remember you said that the way that we measure location marketing performance is broken. And I know we had, this conversation. It was very interesting, but I wanted everybody to learn more of why is that take, right? Why is that, and what's getting in the way in your opinion?
Yeah, I think for a really long time, like I'd been in local SEO, local marketing for over a decade. And for the entirety of that, so many marketers and then also their bosses, the people that they roll up to and have to ask for budget from, really only care about ranking, which
Right.
has always only been the beginning of what we do in local marketing. If you are only measuring the very first part of location marketing, you're not actually seeing the return. You're not seeing the value, which I think is the core issue that we see. And when people say, "What is the value of local SEO? What is the value of what we're doing when it comes to marketing our locations?" I think we actually need to start at the end, which is those people showing up in your business, doing, business with you, whether they're buying from you or buying a service from you, recommending their friends. That's actually how we should be measuring the success of what you're doing in local. It's important to understand ranking and if you're showing up because that is the start, but there are so many other pieces that I think marketers forget about and ultimately arrive at that dollar. Like, well, how many additional dollars are you getting from your local marketing efforts? And really, that's been a task that we've been addressing at Uberall.
And it's been also a conversation lately because I've seen a lot of comments on Facebook groups on topics of SEO and forums, and especially even yesterday, last night, like funny timing. Somebody asking is like, "What is your expectation on ROI for 6 months of SEO?" Is like, well, that's probably all over the place.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. It's fun, but I will say it's absolutely difficult and takes a lot of effort to get there. But it is ultimately what businesses should care about.
Now, Steph, obviously you see this from the CMO perspective at multiple SaaS companies, and I would be curious to ask you, what do you think are some of these biggest challenges that multi-location businesses face? Because obviously we're speaking about a little bit on the SEO side, but at a higher level, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think I will piggyback on what Crystal said. The number one challenge I see is how you're going to protect your budget and get more money, or at least get a budget. Yeah. And it starts with this ability to really connect your location marketing effort to the bottom line of the business, which is the sales, the revenue impact. Yeah. And it gets even harder nowadays because people think with AI, and yes, I have to say AI in the first 30 seconds, but with AI, people think, why do you need budget for that when AI can do it for you? And they
Right.
have, you should see how many times I get this question. Yeah. And what we did, it's like all the time. Yeah. And with SEO, local SEO as well, it's always the 2/3 of the iceberg you don't see. So it's even harder to prove. So you have AI being your best body, your superpower, but it's telling you, hey, why do you need budget? And you have obviously the CFO challenging you, and you don't really see that yet. So that's really a big challenge. We did run a survey with our clients and partners, and you won't believe what we found here. Well, I guess I don't know if it's shocking or not, but the result was 73%. Yeah, you heard me, 73% of marketers in location-based businesses could not show the impact of their location marketing to sales. They're not measuring that. As a CMO, I'm like, ooh, we have a problem. So that's going the challenge in 2025, really solving that problem one for all. The other challenge, yeah.
I was gonna say I have so many questions about the report, but for starters, is this available? Where can people download this report, or can they get their hands on to start with?
Yeah, it's available on the Uberall.com, and I'm sure with that we will send you a link so everybody can download it. Yeah, it's an eye-opener. Some of it you're like, yeah, I know about it, but when you see so many, I was like, ooh la la.
Right.
I do.
Okay.
I do see another challenge as well. And I think is one that you see maybe is déjà vu. But one thing I see now with AI as a superpower, and I'm guilty of that, you think you can do so much more. There's a new almost creator economy that's being developed. But what happens sometimes as marketer like we are, we get really excited. I know I do. So you want to do so many things and you lose the basic. So it's very hard because then if you lose the basic, you lose the foundation, it's going to be even harder to know what works. Yeah. So I see that as a big challenge in 2025 and above. Yeah. Remain focused, experiment wisely, but don't forget your base. Yeah.
That's like right on the money. I think that I think we've had chatted about this, but I have a bunch of SaaS subscriptions, like little tools. Now I have an entire pile of AI
Yeah.
tools that now I need to go back and cancel because one replaces the previous one and they
Yeah.
just keep building up on top. And the point is stay focused, right? Like it's so easy to just lose focus on what matters with all the tools that are now out there.
Yeah, I just tried
Yeah.
3 tools today.
And this applies yeah, exactly, and it applies the same way for a consumer searching, because now there's more channels and networks where people can search for local businesses or local products. So with this rise, what's your take on the impact on local SEO and location marketing as a whole, Krystal?
Yeah, I will say one of the things you kind of mentioned is like the way consumers are changing. I think marketers, specifically in local SEO, we forget to take our marketer hat off. Let's just search for a business or a service. How do we do that? Not as a marketer, just as a consumer. And then know that's what our customers are doing. So when we talk about remembering the basics, I always recommend that to everyone. Like take your your marketer hat off and put yourself in the seat of a consumer. What do they need? What tools are they using? What tools are you using? And how are you making decisions to engage with businesses? And so I see a really big trend, and this is pretty industry agnostic in considering social elements. So not just getting the information that you need. Yes, it's important to know where this business is or to know that they offer the right service, but I just want to see how they're engaging with their customers. I want to read their reviews. I want to take a look at their their Instagram account to see, are they socially conscious? Are they trendy? Are they staying up to date? Those types of things. There's TikTok, there's YouTube Shorts, there's so many of these aspects that a ton of consumers, not just younger generations, like everyone is using to research businesses, to engage with businesses. And so that's one of the trends I think is not going to slow down as we move into the future. I think location marketers need to understand that social is going to be a really big aspect of this. And then as we also talked about is like AI. We get that question all the time at Uberall from our customers is like, how do I know if I'm showing up in AI search results? What are my competitors looking like? What do we need to do differently? And as long as I've been in SEO, there have been changes. There have been changes to what's important. AI is just a new change. It's a huge change. But this is just like understanding how consumers are engaging with AI, what they're looking for, and really understanding how your business can be visible. It's a lot of the same things you're doing today, but knowing how ChatGPT or other AI tools or LLMs are prioritizing rich content and making sure that that's available and easy to find and unique. So that it is engaging to consumers. They don't want to see the same thing. They want to be interested in the content that you're providing. So those are also ways that leverage social to make your brand unique and stand out where people are overloaded with information.
I would be curious to hear a little bit more about how is ChatGPT and AI search changing your life as a consumer? Like, how has that evolved? What are you doing different now?
Yeah, I will say the way that I have used Google, I actually think Google is responsible for creating a lot of the SEO challenges that we have. I would
Right.
search very specifically, like I want this information, and I knew how to put it into kind of like keyword ranking terms. And if Google didn't give me the information I need, I started my search again. Whereas with like a chat GPT, it's very different. Like my questions are more specific. I am almost talking to it like a person. I don't actually, though, see myself changing the way I use Google. So now I have kind of a new avenue and I start at different places based on what I need. Do I want to get a list of a bunch of, websites or businesses or products and then go through that list and determine how I want to, buy them or what information I need? Or do I just want a very specific answer? If I want a very specific answer, I'm generally going to go to like an LLM or, chat GPT.
Mhm.
But if I'm ready to go through a decision making period, I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to go to Apple. I'm going to go to these other search places. So I think for me as a consumer, I now have a new avenue, and it's maybe not replacing the way that I used Google. And I think there's also studies coming out. There was a really, really great study done by SparkToro. Of course, this is all very new, but they were saying that Google's search volume is not going down. It's actually increasing in the last couple of months. So I think that's important to know as well. Yes, this is changing. This is in addition to how you're already visible and prioritizing your other search marketing activities.
Yeah, it's very curious because we talked about ChatGPT 2 years ago. I think when it barely came out, we had this podcast episode, and we said it's going to take a long time for users to change from searching keywords into a conversational search. And then here we are 2 years later. Now I'm so used to the conversational that I go on Google and I type in the whole question now, right? Like it's funny. But I'm still curious, Steph, what about you? Has had ChatGPT or AI driven search change the way that you search for consumer, for example, products or services that you may be buying?
Yes, how long do you have? Because I can start the whole episode.
Exactly. I think
So
yeah, yeah.
I'm a chat GPT convert, but I know some, as you say, other AI-driven search. So I hear lots of people love Gemini or Perplexity. So I started to use ChatGPT just when it came out. And at the time, I treated it what I call my Tamagotchi, my modern Tamagotchi, because I needed to really prompt it, nurture it. Now ChatGPT became my best friend. I literally, like Krystal is, for me, I actually replace Google most of the time. Sorry, Google. But I tend to use it for everything. So in my day-to-day business life is really my amplify creativity. I have to say anything I chat like brainstorm. My team is hates it when they say, "Oh my God, Steph had 1 hour. She's been on ChatGPT again." Yeah, because the idea is a bit too overwhelming. But I also use it, but everything I think is perfect for that. I also use it personally for search. So anything I go, I tend to go there. It's not quite there on local search yet. I mean, you've seen with Search GPT now what's been introduced. I mean, it's probably your 9 packs or whatever you call it. But when you look, my last search was Champagne near me. Didn't come with the best in London, but I'm sure it will get better. On the third thing, I experiment a lot. Yeah. So still not quite there for images. I do love, I don't know if you try the advanced voice search. The thing gets me. You make it speak franglais. It is like the best. And I love the fact I can really have a conversation, stop it, and for any query, any search. So I go there first. And I have to say, I can't work for Sora. It's not available in Europe yet, but the minute Sora, we can have it. I'll be the first to do I think it's limited to 20-second video, but I'll be on it trying. So I do think it's fantastic, and we should embrace it as your next best pal for augmented intelligence. Yeah, not artificial, but augmented. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, is your ChatGPT is your best friend, because my wife thinks ChatGPT is her boyfriend, and that's what she
I,
calls it.
I didn't
And
say it is my boyfriend too. Sometime I even call him name, or sometimes lots of name, and I swear at it when you should see. Sometimes I'm like, look, you don't get it. Then he makes you realize maybe my prompt it is not so smart. Yeah.
that's hilarious. Now, it's I mean, they're definitely changing our not just the way that marketers are planning and strategizing, but also how consumers are searching. And with that, I mean, metrics are changing, right? Because now, if you cannot track rankings on AI search results, you got to look at other metrics to figure out what's working, what's not, right? So, where do you see that the impact on those metrics, Crystal, and your take there?
Yeah, I think one of the first things I noticed about like ChatGPT and how it was different in terms of delivering results compared to maybe the traditional search engines is there are a lot more third-party sites being referenced or pulled in. And I think it just amplifies the need to make sure your content, your business information is distributed where your customers could potentially find you. So I know we talked about ranking and how that's just the start of it, but I think it's still critically impactful to track where your traffic is coming from. Oftentimes, yes, Google's still going to be a key part of it, but are you starting to see, increases in people finding you on TripAdvisor? That is one of the things I think I noticed when you did like a local pack search. The website link didn't go to your business website. It went to a TripAdvisor result. And so I think it's understanding and seeing where users are getting to you. They still need to get to you. They still need to access your site, but making sure that you're measuring that and seeing if there's any trends or changes. But ultimately, I think the thing that customers need to pay attention to and that marketers need to pay attention to are those clicks, and making sure that when people find you, do they find you engaging? Are they clicking to buy? Are they clicking to get driving directions? Are they calling you? What is that action they're taking? Are they clicking to look at your photos? Are they reading your reviews? It's just making sure that you're getting someone to engage with you. That will ultimately lead to the number, the money, and them doing business with you. But you want to make sure that your business is interesting, and that they're clicking to engage with your business in any aspect.
So you hit several points there that I want to call out. The first one is we call it omni-channel in the past, but really the omnipresence, because every industry, but also every consumer is going to search different, and you got to be present in those places. Now, if it was hard for you to track ROI on Google Business Profile, imagine now having all these amounts of channels. So obviously, it adds a level of complexity, right? And what do you think is going to help, right? The end-to-end revenue attribution. Like, what's going to be that? Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to see, right? Like, we want to see that ROI, regardless of your rankings, impressions, clicks. It all comes down to the bottom line. Uh, and I know this is part of the report, right? So, is there anything that you can talk to us about? Going from not doing anything to revenue rock stars, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. My biggest tip is not creating a new metric, not trying to like understand something that doesn't exist today. It's actually just all of the things that we all know are important, bringing them together. So we talked about ranking, whether that's making sure that you're visible when someone searches, like that's number one. Like people need to find you. We talked about being engaging, making sure that you've got content, videos, text, photos, whatever is relevant to your business, menu data, whatever is important to your customer, it needs to be engaging. Reputation. This is critical for every business. There's going to be industries where this is just a non-negotiable. I'm thinking about like restaurants, anyone providing a service. You have to have a really good reputation. That reputation is not just Google. It is across the board. It is your comments and sentiment on Instagram. It is, reviews on other websites, on your website as well, your first party website. So making sure that that reputation is intact, and that you understand the importance of it, not just for the people leaving reviews, but also for the people considering to engage with you. That's a huge part of reputation. And actually listening to that feedback. Like, don't just get reviews for the point of it because you think it's going to improve your ranking. Actually think about the content in there and understand if people like your business. Are they satisfied? And use that to improve your business, improve your services. Maybe, the speed at which they're able to complete an order is not up to par. And that really can have an impact on your business operations. And then the last one are those clicks, conversion, whatever it is, whatever that last step is to do business with a user, pulling those all together is really what it is. Those are metrics that every marketer is typically tracking, but the challenge is businesses tend to focus on just one or a few of them. And so that's the important aspect, is we want to bring them together and create this picture that shows you, when you pay attention to all of these, when you optimize each stage that a consumer is engaging with you, then you will really be able to uncover those revenue opportunities.
And it's definitely going to be a really good thing for marketers to be able to prove ROI, because then you can get more budget. You can really scale your program, right? Scale your strategy. But from your point of view, Steph, looking at it from a CMO perspective, if a marketer struggles, right, to demonstrate ROI to begin with, what are some of those wider implications that may come after that, right? What have you seen in the past about that?
Yeah, I think the first one, you said it, is it'll be very hard to get budget or more budget increase. Yeah. And I think if there's any CMO out there that managed to get budget or lots of budget increase without proving a form of bottom line impact, so revenue or ROI, it depends of your business. Please come to me, because I'm going to call you the chief magic officer. Huh? I've never seen her. M stands for magic in that case, but that's the biggest impact you have on probably the stress here. I see also two other implications. The second one, it's also on your team. I feel like if you can't really show, that means you fail your team, because your team is like, I've been working so hard, everything I'm doing has no value because I can't prove that last revenue impact. Yeah. And it's very demoralizing, and there's more and more pressure on marketing. So that's really to balance that. And maybe the third one I see, or I've seen, it's really at business level, when marketing start being seen as a cost center. Because if you can't really show the impact of what you do, that's very dangerous. Because that means you're being put in the corner. And I always say nobody puts baby in the corner, i.e. baby being marketing. So marketing has to be at the center. Marketing is a science that drives revenue. So if you can't show how you drive revenue, you got in the, under the iceberg, in the corner. So that's a big impact, everything. And I've seen it so many times in so many boardrooms. You cannot imagine how many times I'm being asked, you sure we should do that? I'm like, yes, just showing you we have correlated that so much revenue to the business. Yeah. But you need help
Yeah,
as CMO.
even not at the CMO level, I've seen it personally, where every time, well, we want to grow, 100%, we're going to double down or double in revenue next year, but we only have $2,000 a month in budget. What can we do? It was like, well, yeah, we're not magicians, right?
Exactly. Sometimes I joke. I'm like, I did say it many times in boardroom. I said, okay, can I change my title? I'm the chief magician officer.
What do they say to that?
They kind of laugh, but I think there's a realization. The way you also need to think people are human. So the best way also is correlate, that you say, understand your audience. Krystal is the same everywhere, in every boardroom, executive team as well. Understand the audience, find the right way of saying it, that people say, okay, the penny has dropped. It is true. If you don't get that budget, you won't be able to hit your target. Yeah? but sometimes, it's easier to cut the marketing, sadly. Not at
Yeah.
Uberall.
And Steph, what's your take on local social? Because I know we touched base on reviews and the importance of that, right? How it's going to benefit. But what's your take on local social? Because it's something that we don't really talk a lot about in the podcast, but I'm very curious to hear your opinion.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting question. I used to work in Hootsuite actually, so I come from a social media platform management space as well. We never really had the discussion on local social. So for me,
Mhm.
when I arrived in Uberall, it was something quite new. And of course, we all know social SEO is been really growing faster and faster. Yeah, as Krystal mentioned, you search everywhere. Probably the first point of search now is also, especially for Gen Z, is on social media platform. And I don't know if you've seen traditionally, obviously it's Instagram, but TikTok launched now Places, which is super interesting because you can start looking for a place near you. But the one thing I would say, which is also something I never seen it like that before, is platform like Google and Apple that people don't see that at local posting. Yeah. And it's totally underutilized the ability to post at your location level. So could be your Google post, certain, and it's a different strategy or your showcase. Yeah. So for me, my perspective on that, I mean, obviously pick your platform, the right one that works, back to your basic. It will be more than one, like you say, Christian, omnipresence. Really like that, by the way. We're going to use that more. Have that. But anyway, so on that would be, I think what I see in social, it's you're much more ready to buy. So it's really the faster
Mhm.
way, in my opinion, to click, to get your intent into the click or the action that will drive a transaction. Might not always be offline, but there will be definitively much higher transaction on social. Yeah. So that's my take. Hard to measure that because sometimes it's harder because obviously it's not a seamless or frictionless process. But this is why you go back to your basic. Make sure you look at your click, the CTR, and combine, like Krystal will say, make sure you combine your engagement on the sentiment. And obviously, you can run some very cool ads that always local social ad boost your conversion to a level that is usually very, very good.
Yeah, I will also add to that, like, I feel like we can learn a lot from Google. Google has so much information about these billions of consumers that are doing searches
Mhm.
every day and the type of content they engage with, the types of things they take action on. And something we've seen slowly roll out this year, and it's gotten more prominent, is Google is now bringing in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter posts from local businesses and adding it directly on their Google profiles. And then also in discovery on maps, there's a section called nearby events and deals. These are pulled, yes, from your Google profile, but also from your social profile. So clearly there's something Google knows about users engaging with this social content that they're willing to better integrate this on their search experience. So I think that's something we can all learn and understand. If Google is pulling this in, it's important. Consumers want it. They want to make it more prominent so that people don't have to go to another platform to see this information. And so, as businesses, we need to know that that's important to users, and that should be a priority for marketers.
That's a really good point because even though they're bringing in the external platforms or bringing in the content, I've been in cities where I pull out my Google Maps and it actually feels a lot more social just within the app, right? Where there's like the best 10 top 10 restaurants in the neighborhood where you're at, or like the hidden gems. And I literally went to a couple and the places were packed. I couldn't even walk in.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, Google is not going to replace these social tools, but I think it's an indication if they are starting to change the way that they are presenting data and information to users.
And just on this, if I can add as well, I was talking to one of our clients, Barcelo, who's been really having a very interesting strategy on his local post on Google. This is where he's seen a huge revenue impact. Yeah. But when I asked him, do you see that at local social? He's like, well, it is in a way, but the bigger social brand is a different team. But as a location marketer, local SEO, specialist, is really using his Google post as his prime channel to really boost some of his news, and most of his conversion comes from there as well. Yeah. So it was very, very interesting to hear.
Yeah, I
It's
will say
interesting.
I was going to say with hotels specifically, you have a very limited amount of features you can control on Google because they got their ads from other travel partners. So Google Posts is a really unique one to use where it's kind of unfettered access. You can post what you want, what Google will allow. But it's more unique than the other areas you can control within Google specifically. So definitely, if you're a local business, you don't have a Google Post strategy or Apple Showcases as well, definitely something to explore when you are thinking about engaging, updating, and competing with other businesses locally.
And there was a recent, because I know Uberall has been following this challenge, right? The ROI tracking and really attribution, how to help marketers. So, Steph, why don't you tell us a little bit more about LPS, right? Location marketing performance. How does that come into the play with all of these challenges that we've been talking for the last lost track of time? And how does it going to be part of new strategies, right? How does this going to be key, a potential game changer for for local location marketer strategists, potentially next year and for years to come?
Yeah, totally. Thanks for the question. So, we've announced last year overall a vision that we call location performance optimization. And we really think that combines everything we've been discussing now, what Krystal said. There's so much going on, marketer being overwhelmed, that there needs to be a shift to help them prove that revenue impact on the ability to connect your digital presence to local revenue impact. Yeah. And we tend to call that LPO, or location performance optimization, whereby you really take all the key components of what we know is proven to work on visibility, reputation, conversion, and ultimately revenue into that holistic view. Yeah. And this is obviously anything around visibility, reputation, and engagement. But with this, and this is really like my dream as a CMO, we say, okay, how do you put that into a practical framework, and what can you see in platform to measure that? So we call that LPS, or Location Performance Score. And this is when I say it's my dream, I always thought one day I can log in into a platform, see one score that gives me the health of what my team is doing. I can justify all the location effort, marketing effort we're doing. Well, that's it. We've done it. So if you log in now in Uberall, you can see the LPS, this location performance score, which become your health tracker. And this, when I say it's my dream, I can really see whether any location, how they're doing, but it's not only how they're doing across reputation, visibility, and engagement. It gives you practical actions, saying actually, how can you make that health score better? What action do you need to do to be able to see a revenue correlation impact? Because near that magic score, there's also a revenue number. So I can tell you, as a CMO, and I presented it to a few clients, I'm talking to a CMO again next week about that, because we're like, yes. And what happened, why it's a game changer, you made location marketing accessible to a lot of exec or boardroom when they don't really understand all those metrics. We talk about metrics, a lot of them might be seen as vanity metrics, which is normal, it's not their expertise. Now you have one score that people can grab and say, that score give me the health of what I'm doing, what my team is doing, and this score equal X of revenue. So why is it not to dream of? Yeah.
Yeah, I will say as well, I'm really excited about it. There's so many times where I'm like, it is very clear to me that investing in local SEO and optimizing your locations, creating engaging content online, managing your reputation, of course, that's going to drive revenue. But it's not so easy to communicate, especially to folks that, are managing a ton of other aspects out of business. And, I think SEOs and local marketers really struggle to get the piece of the pie that they deserve. I think, Steph, you said it too, for your team.
Yeah.
They are putting in so much effort and they are driving revenue, but oftentimes it's undervalued. It's generally the most under-resourced part of SEO. And so I'm personally really excited about it because I think it gives, teams and folks an opportunity to kind of celebrate and talk about the things they've been doing and make it make sense to people that are a little bit more far removed. So I'm really excited about it. But I also know that the challenges businesses have with a space like ours that changes all the time. And so being able to say, spend your time on this and it's going to be the most impactful, really aids these people that are overwhelmed and under-resourced. So it's really exciting to me, I think, as an innovation, and just giving them a score and say, this is how you're doing. This is what you need to focus on.
So we've had tons, tremendous golden nuggets on this episode today, but I want to bring it back to our core of the podcast, right? Is stay ahead of competitors, stay ahead in location marketers. So what is the one piece of advice you can share with the audience, Krystal, and then I'll go to you, Steph, that when it comes to anything, right? Like anything that we've talked about today, what is that one piece that if anybody that listened to this episode, this is going to be the key takeaway?
Yeah, I will say, and I probably say this all the time, that the most important thing is getting started and starting with the basics. The basics are your basic information, understanding what customers want to know about you in order to make a decision. And then getting that information in front of them, whether that's just making sure your listings are up to date, having a rich and engaging website, giving them the ability to complete a purchase with you, making sure that is taken care of. And then you're able to maybe kind of try other areas out. But that is always going to be the most important.
Steph, what would be your number one? Piece of
I
advice?
don't know if I just have one, so I'm going to
I know.
combine it into maybe as a marketer and location marketer, continue to be curious, really optimize your experimentation, push your boundaries, but don't forget your foundation of what works, that you always tie back to revenue. And maybe I know you say one, but in that, I will say we talk about ChatGPT or any AI-driven search engine. Make them your best friend alongside your CFO.
Maybe even your boyfriend.
I like that.
Well,
Make ChatGPT your boyfriend is our one recommendation.
On your CFO, your chief financial officer, your best friend, because that always help when you educate finance on the metrics of marketing, and you have it now with the location performance score. So then you can say,
Awesome.
show me
That's
the money.
that's the bonus one.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Krystal and Steph, for joining us in this episode. Thank you so much for watching and staying this long. It was an awesome episode. There's still a lot of information that we can keep chatting about and a lot of questions that I may keep asking. But to the point is download the ROI Confessions report. The link is in the description box. And if you haven't like this video, there's the button right there. Smash that subscribe button and share it with a colleague, right? Hopefully, if you know anybody that may find value in this episode, you can share it with them and spread the word. But with that, thank you so much, guys. And thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you on the next one.